Hello everyone. Welcome to Group 2's presentation from absorption costing and transparent pricing to break-even sales.
Welcome! Today we are diving into absorption costing and transparent pricing. These are two important concepts that help businesses determine the cost and the price of the products. Let's start with absorption costing. Now, what is absorption costing? Absorption costing is a method where all the costs related to making a product are included in its final price. This means both variable costs and fixed costs are absorbed into the product's costs. Understanding the variable costs. Variable costs are the expenses that change depending on how much you produce. For example, if you run a bakery, the cost of the flour, the sugar, and the eggs would be variable costs. The more cakes you bake, the more ingredients you need, and thus the higher your variable costs. Understanding fixed costs. Fixed costs, on the other hand, are expenses that stay the same no matter how much you produce. Using the bakery example again, you rent and pay for salaries for the employees are fixed costs. Whether you bake one cake or hundreds, these costs don't change. The formula. Let's break down the formula of absorption costing. Well, it's pretty much straightforward. Price per unit is equal to variable cost per unit. Plus, in a close and open parenthesis, that's total overhead plus administrative expenses, and that is divided by the number of units produced. Now here's what each part means. Variable cost per unit. Costs that change with production volume, like raw materials. Total overhead and administrative expenses, that is fixed costs like rent, salaries, utilities, spread out all over its units produced. Number of units produced. The total quantity of units manufactured in a given period. Now here's a step-by-step example. Now, let's walk through an example to see how this works in practice. Imagine a company produces 4,000 units of product. The variable cost per unit is $5. The total overhead and administrative expenses amounts to $20,000. Using the formula, price per unit is equal to 5 plus, now in a close and open parenthesis, that is 20,000 divided by 4,000. First, calculate the fixed cost per unit. That is 20,000 divided by 4,000, and that is 5. Next, add this to the variable cost per unit, which is 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. So the absorption cost per unit is $10. Advantages. Absorption costing has a couple of clear advantages. First, it's simple. You don't need a specialized accounting skills to use this method. Second, it helps ensure profitability. By including all the costs and potential profit margin, businesses can cover their expenses and generate profit. Disadvantages. But there's also disadvantages to consider. Absorption costing ignores competition. Because prices are based on production costs, they might not align with the market prices. Additionally, it doesn't take price elasticity into an account. You might set up prices too high or too low compared to what the buyers are willing to pay, which can impact sales and profits. To wrap up, absorption costing includes all costs in the product price, making it a simple and potentially profitable method. However, it's important to also consider market conditions and price sensitivity. Accumulative production. First, what is accumulated production? It's the total spending on things like equipment and facilities that a company uses to make products. As a company produces more units over time, it gains experience, which helps to reduce the average cost of making each unit. This reduction cost is called the experience curve or the learning curve. The experience curve. The experience curve shows the relationship between production costs and the company's experience in making and selling a product. If production volume increases, workers get better at their jobs, materials move more efficiently, and buying cost decreases. All these factors lowers the average cost per unit. The learning curve. The learning curve is simple. It says that as workers repeat a task, they get better and faster at it. This means the time and the cost to perform the task decrease. The more tasks is repeated, the more efficient the workers become, reducing the overall time and the cost needed for each unit produced. Applications of learning curves. It estimates costs, bidding on special orders, setting labor standards, scheduling labor needs, and evaluating worker performance, and setting incentive wages. The learning curve versus the experience curve. While the learning curve focuses the reduction in labor costs as workers gain experience, the experience curve includes broader savings as improved efficiency and lower buying costs as production volume grows. In summary, accumulated production and the experience curve show how production costs decrease and companies gain experience. Understanding this concept helps business optimize costs, improve labor standards, and increase efficiency. There are three major assumptions in the learning curve effect. First, the time decreases with repetition. Let's start with the first major assumption of the learning curve effect. The time required to complete a given task will decrease the more times the task is performed. This means that the workers repeat a task, they become faster at it. Think about how much quicker you get a game or a hobby the more you practice. The same principle applies here. Practice makes perfect, and it also makes things faster. Assumption 2. Rate of the decrease slows over time. Next, the second assumption, the decrease in time will slow down over time. Early on, you might see big improvements quickly. For example, if it will take you 10 hours to make your first product, the second might only take 8 hours. However, as you continue, the improvements get smaller. By the time you are making your 100th product, you might only cut the time from 2 hours to 1.9 hours. The gains become less dramatically, but they still add up over time. Assumption 3. Predictable pattern. Finally, the third assumption. The decrease in time follows a predictable pattern. This means we can actually map out and predict how much time future tasks will take based on past performance. For businesses, this predictability is crucial. It helps in planning production schedules, setting realistic deadlines, and managing cost efficiency. So to recap, the three major assumptions in learning curve effects are: first, tasks gets faster the more they're done. Second, the speed up happens more slowly over time. And the three, this improvements follows predictable pattern. Understanding this principle helps businesses become more efficient and plan better for the future. Activity-based cost accounting. What is activity-based costing? Activity-based costing, or ABC, helps businesses see all costs that go into making a product. Not just obvious ones, it includes both direct costs like materials, and indirect costs, like the electricity used by machines. The problem with the traditional costing. Some businesses split their overhead costs evenly across all products. But this isn't very accurate because some products use more resources than others. For example, making a fancy table might take more time and materials than making a simple chair. How ABC solves the problem? ABC fixes this by looking at the specific activities needed to make each product. This way we can assign costs more accurately. Let's see how it works. Step 1. Identify activities. First, we list all the activities needed to make the product. For example, in making table, activities might include cutting wood, assembling the parts, and applying varnish. Step 2. Create cost pools. Next, we group the cost for each activity into cost pools. A cost pool is just a bunch of costs related to one activity. So all the costs related to cutting wood go into one pool, and all costs for assembling go into one another.
Step 3. Assign cost drivers. Then, we find out what drives the cost for each activity. These are called cost drivers. For example, cost driver for cutting wood could be the number of hours spent cutting. For assembling, it might be the number of tables assembled. Step 4. Calculate cost driver rate. Now we divide the total cost in each pool by the total cost drivers to get the cost driver rate. This rate helps us see how much each activity costs. For example, if cutting wood cost $1,000 and we cut 100 pieces, the rate is $10 per piece.
Step 5. Apply cost driver rate. Finally, we multiply the cost driver rate by the number of cost driver units used for each activity. This tells us the cost for each activity. For example, if we spend 50 hours cutting wood at $10 per hour, the total cost is $500. Benefits of activity-based costing. ABC helps us understand the true cost of making a product. It shows us which activities are the most expensive and where might be able to save money. For example, if assembling tables is costly, we might look for ways to make the process more efficient. Application in small businesses. For small businesses, ABC is particularly useful. It helps trace overhead costs and set more accurate product prices. By seeing whichever activities cost the most, small businesses can decide if some processes can be streamlined or even eliminated. The real-world impact. By using the ABC, businesses can better understand where their money is going. This leads to smarter decisions, like setting prices that ensures the healthy profit margin and finding ways to cut unnecessary costs.
Alliance pricing strategy. What is alliance pricing strategy?
This is when two companies team up to work on a project that benefits both while still remaining independent. It's different from joint venture where they can create a new business together. Instead, they collaborate without forming a new entity. The goal of strategic alliance. The main goal of strategic alliance is to improve each company's production, marketing, and pricing strategies. By working together, they can often set higher prices and increase their profits compared to working alone. Benefits of an alliance. In an alliance, companies can set higher prices for their products because they're combining their strengths. Reasons for forming an alliance. Companies might form an alliance to enter new markets, improve their products, or gain competitive edge. For instance, a small tech company might partner with a large retailer to reach more customers and improve sales.
Types of alliances. Alliances can be short-term or long-term. They can be formal, with written agreements, or informal, based on trust. For example, two software companies might have short-term alliance to co-develop a new app, while long-term partnership could involve ongoing product collaborations. Example, let's say a tech company specializing in smart devices teams up with a fashion brand known for stylish accessories. Together, they create a smart bracelet that combines cutting-edge technology with fashionable design. Tech company brings its tech expertise while the fashion brand adds its design flair. By working together, they can set a higher price for the bracelet because it's unique and desirable product. In summary, alliance pricing strategy allows companies to work together to set higher prices and boost profits. By combining their strengths, they can achieve more than they could be alone.
Welcome. In this presentation, we'll explore how businesses can set prices by considering market demand, costs, and the competitive landscape.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's presentation on analyzing competitors' costs and pricing strategies. In this session, we'll explore how business can set their prices effectively by considering market demand, their own costs, and competitive landscape. We also discuss different auction type, pricing methods, and brand price trade-off BPTO technique. Let's dive in. Understanding competitors' costs and prices. When setting prices, it's crucial to understand both market demands, costs, but just as important is knowing your competitors' costs and prices. Why? Because this knowledge helps you determine whether you're operating at a cost advantage or disadvantage. For instance, if your production costs are lower than those of your competitors, you may have flexibility to lower your prices to gain market share or maintain higher profit margins. To benchmark your costs against competitors, you can employ various strategies. For example, companies often send out comparison shoppers to assess competitors' offers. They might also acquire competitors' price lists, buy and analyze their products, or even as a customers for their perception of competitors' price and quality.
Example, Company A versus competitor. Setting prices based on product, features, and market perception.
So let's consider an example. So suppose you're running a smartphone manufacturing company A. By researching your competitors, you find that they offer similar features but a slightly lower price. If your smartphones have superior camera quality and battery life, you might justify a higher price. However, if your product is not perceived as better, pricing higher than competitors could deter customers.
Pricing strategies and competitors' reaction.
Once you're aware of competitors' prices and offers, you can use this information as a baseline. If your product offers unique features, their value to the customers should be added to the competitor's price to set your price. Conversely, if you're missing features that competitors offer, you might need a lower price accordingly. A key point to remember is that competitors may change their price in response to yours. For example, if a company A decides to lower its smartphone price to undercut a major competitor, that competitor might respond by further lowering their price or adding promotional offers.
Auction type pricing.
Now, let's shift gears and discuss auction type pricing. Auctions are a fascinating way to determine price because they rely on competitive bidding. There are several types of auctions. First is the English auctions. English auctions. This is where the price starts low and bidders increase it until the highest bid wins.
For example, platforms like eBay use this method. It's commonly used for antiques, art, and collectible items.
Second is Dutch auctions. Here the auctioneer starts with a higher price and lower it until a bidder accepts. This method is often used for perishable goods like flowers or seafood.
Example scenario. Imagine a local flower market where a wholesaler needs to sell a large batch of fresh tulips quickly before they wilt. Process 1. Auctioneer starts high. The auctioneer begins by announcing a high price, say $100 for a bundle of tulips. 2. Price decreases every few seconds. The auctioneer lowers the price by $5. 3. First bidder wins. When the price drops to $70, a florist bids and accepts the price. The transaction is completed, and the auction ends for that bundle.
Sealed bid auctions. In this format, bidders submit their bids without knowing the other's bids. It's frequently used by governments for procurement, ensuring fair competition. A real-world example of auction-type pricing is the use of reverse auction in B2B or business-to-business transaction. In a reverse auction, the buyer specifies what they need and the sellers compete by offering the lowest price. This is often used by companies like Feedbid to secure government contracts, potentially saving taxpayer money. Finally, let's discuss the brand price trade-off or BPTO technique. BPTO is a statistical method used to understand consumers' price and sensitivity in a competitive market. It measures the value or equity of a brand relative to others based on price. For example, consider a market with multiple shampoo brands. If brand A and brand B offer similar products, but brand A is perceived as a higher quality, consumers may be willing to pay more for brand A. BPTO helps business gauge how much more or less customers are willing to pay for one brand over another, helping in setting competitive prices. In conclusion, setting the right price involves a deep understanding of your own costs, the market demand, and your competitors' pricing strategies. Whether through direct price comparisons, understanding auction dynamics, or using BPTO, businesses have various tools at their disposal. The goal is to strike a balance between profitability and competitiveness. Thank you for listening. Remember, a well-informed pricing strategy can significantly impact your market position and profitability. Thank you.